Hey, welcome to this episode of the Headland Workshop. Thanks for joining us. So since last time, we've been pretty busy stripping this kit car to bare bones. We've taken all the suspension components off. We've taken the engine out, the gearbox, prop shaft, rear diff, rear suspension components, fuel tank, everything is gone. Only got the steering column left. Gonna replace floor pan and side panels because they are disgusting. They're very, very thin, and can you believe that the seats are actually bolted to the 2mm floor pan? So we're going to take that floor pan out as it's really battered, rusty, and covered in horrible paint. We're going to get the 9-inch angle grinder on it and cut all the welds off and use flat discs to sand everything back. We've got some 4mm sheet down here and some new 2mm sheet. We've got some 25mm box, and we've got a 25 by 50 box. We're going to make some new seat runners so we can then bolt the new seats to it and be nice and secure and bolt it to the chassis rather than to the floor pan. The first job was to remove the oil from the sump of the V8, and then we could move on to removing any auxiliary components like the water pump and alternator. Next on the list, engine and gearbox out. We faffed around for ages trying to get rusty bolts off and using the angle grinder because it's just a bit easier, and then eventually managed to get the gearbox out. We thought that the gearbox would come out the bottom, but actually seems like the gearbox comes out the top, but we forgot to record that bit. Some friends and family have told us that we're crazy at cutting off this roll cage, but the roll cage is covering up the side panels, and without the roll cage off we're unable to remove the rusty side panels, part of this renovation. This car was originally intended for track use only, but we're going to be using it as a tourer with soft compliance suspension, so we don't need a roll cage. You might have remembered me telling you about the seats being bolted through the floor pan. Well, this is me removing them. This is the shock top mount I was talking to you about. It's cracked on the frame. I didn't realise how bad it was until I've just looked now. Whoever's built this hasn't really thought about it, or maybe they've rushed it, but this is completely tipping back. It's obviously hit a big bump and just ruined the suspension. So we're going to put some 25mm box running up to the bulkhead. We're going to weld it to the chassis, and then this will give this support. I'm going to weld that to it as well after we've repaired the damage. We're going to do that to the other side, and then the upper and lower control arm supports have got enough room to fit some box section behind. So we're going to just do that while we're here. When starting the renovation on this kit car, we wanted to keep the price down as much as possible, so we thought using a grinder with a poly pad to remove the paint ourselves before taking it for powder coating would be the cheapest option. But It does take a long time, probably a waste of time, because shot blasting is quite cheap and we're just going to do that instead. If you've got a BDI, you might be able to realise that the kit car is upside down, and you'd be right. The kit car had to have its floor pan removed as it was very battered, rusted and everything else that we spoke about in this video, and the only way to do that was to flip it upside down. So we've taken a 9-inch angle grinder to it with a cutting disc and cut out the middles, and then spent the next 2 weeks cutting the rest of it off the box section, and surprisingly this was the only part that was actually fully welded to the chassis. Shame they couldn't do that to the rest of it. Now we did get a little bit carried away with the grinder, and we've ended up cutting through sections of the chassis itself and had to cut out sections and replace them with new box section. That's just all part of the fun.
Oh, the old Percussive maintainer. Very moist.
Look at the size of that nose.
In all of its glory. Could sail a fucking boat, that nose.
Well, what are we doing?
Breaking shit. We're cutting floor pan off and not making holes in the chassis.
What are we doing now?
Going to RTS because we've run out of cutting discs.
Sponsor us.
Sponsor us.
Only Milwaukee though. Hey, welcome to the Headland Workshop. Thanks for joining it. We've stripped off nearly all the suspension components. No, we've stripped off all the suspension components. Nearly stripped off all the components. Let's try that again. We've stripped off all the chassis components that we can, apart from the... Now that's not really that true either, to be honest.